Weaknesses in your preparedness plan. Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. It's a very important topic. We as preppers plan ahead. I said it a lot of times, we're proactive, not reactive. So, what weaknesses do you have in your preps? Have you identified them? There's a lot of off-the-wall things you may not have thought about to include in your preps. There's a lot of things we're going to talk about in this video, so please stick around, watch the whole video. We'll talk about a bunch of different things. It's not just all about the beginning. There's a lot of off-the-wall things that many people don't think of. I really try, one of the things I try to do in prepping, in my preparedness, is to think outside the box. Another thing I really try to do, I try to concentrate on multiple use items. I don't want to have too many items that only serve one function. I want things that serve multiple functions. So one off-the-wall thing that may be uncommon, you may have in your preps, you may not. Zip ties. Zip ties are, that's a good prep right there. Have an etc. prep box with things like zip ties in them. What can zip ties be used for? I personally have used them to hold plants up, to help hold plants up so when they don't fall over and when they I was out of twine or something like that. I used them to zip tie fencing panels together to create little garden areas. You can use the thicker, the bigger ones as flexicuffs to cuff somebody if you need to cuff somebody. All you do is you don't have to have fancy zip or fancy flex cuffs. Take two big zip ties, put one through the other one, start it, just barely start it, and then put the other one through that one and barely start it. And that way you have these two, they're connected in the middle, and then all you got to do is put them in somebody's wrists, zip them up, bam, you got flex cuffs. You can use them, there's so many ideas, so many things you can use flex or zip ties for. So zip ties is one of the things you definitely want to have in your preps. Another thing I think of often when I think of weaknesses in preparedness is medical. Medical is a big one. It's a lot of people's weaknesses, I believe. We have to be able to provide basic trauma care, first aid, those kind of things, because there may not be a hospital to be able to go to. There won't be 911 to call. One of the things I think of when I think of that is gauze. Rolled gauze, packed gauze, whatever. Gauze. Lots of gauze. Stockpile lots of gauze. The ability to clean wounds is important also. But packing wounds, gauze. Also, what is it like? I forget the name of it. My brain today is just not really working that great. That flexible bandage stuff that sticks to itself. I forget what it's called. That stuff is really good also to go on over the gauze that doesn't stick. You put a gauze pad down, do that, stretch that around. Another thing you can do is at the point of pressure, you can roll up in a ball, put a little ball of it down, and then wrap it down. So what it does is it provides pressure to that point. It helps add pressure to that point. Also tourniquets, of course, use tourniquets. Clotting gauze, that's very good. Hemostatic gauze. That's also really good, but it's hard to stockpile a ton of it because it is more expensive. But include that in your preps. Here's another one. Right here. Twine. Lots of uses, especially around the garden. You see them right there holding the tomato plants up. Also over here, yep, right there. Right there. That's the peas, for the peas to climb. Very useful. Twine, you can use it to tie up your tarp. You can use it for a lot of different things. No, it's not as strong. It's not optimal for some uses. So things like 550 cord or other proper cordage would be used for those items. But twine is an often overlooked thing. And you get a big ball of it for, not much money. Walmart, wherever you shop. So twine is something that you might want to include in your preps. Very, very useful. Here's another multi-use item. These containers. These are the larger containers. I talked recently about the smaller containers I like better. But when you use these for prepping and or storing whatever your stuff, that you have, whatever you're using them for, and they get old, they get cracked or something like that, something happens to them, or you just want to use them for container gardening, you can. They're not food grade, so, you know, over the years, chemicals may leach into them. What I do though, is if on my containers, I garden in them for one season. At the end of the season, I take all the soil and I dump it into my raised beds, because over time, you know, they settle. All the beds and everything like that need more soil in them, or if I build a new raised bed, I'll use the soil from these. So I empty all my containers. And then at the beginning of next season, I will put in all new fresh soil. So there isn't really a time for it to leach into the soil. I mean, it's a season. That's all it is. So I'm not really that concerned about it. So think about that. It's a multiple use item that you can reuse, upcycle, things like that. Try to think outside the box. It's another item. Stand by. Here's another multi-use item. Buckets, right? As you can see, they can be used as a canvas for drawing pretty pictures by your little kids. That's really important. Use it for hauling dirt, hauling rocks, hauling food. We use one of these, well actually a bigger one is our compost bucket. We set it right outside our side door, and then whenever it gets full or gets enough in it, we use that to carry it to the compost pile, throw it in the compost pile. We also use it to move dirt around between raised beds or stuff like that. You can use it for water collection if you need to. These are food grade. Well, actually, I don't know if this exact one is. I believe this one is. I think we got it from a bakery. And that's another hint and a tip that you can get these kind of buckets, maybe smaller, but from bakeries, because the frosting and other things for making cakes, pies, all these things, a lot of them come in these buckets, or like the pie filling. So they're food grade. And a lot of these bakeries will just give them to you. I know Costco, I don't know if they still do, but they've given me a lot of buckets. That's probably where this one came from, actually. But a lot of uses for a bucket. You can use them for food storage. I don't like the round food storage option. I like the square ones. But buckets are so useful, and kids play with them. I mean, we use buckets for everything. My 13-year-old son fills them up with aluminum cans, carries them around for his targets, for BB gun practice, all those kind of things. So, another thing is we use it to harvest. Harvest time comes, we'll clean it out really good, of course, and then really well. And then, sorry about the English. And then we will put our harvest in them, use it to carry it inside. So that's another use. A lot of uses for these things. Another very useful thing, if you are building anything, like building raised beds, anything out of wood, what is it? Fasteners, nails, screws, bolts, nuts, washers, all those things. Anytime what I do is if we have like an old piece of furniture that we're throwing out, I'll go through and I'll remove most of the fasteners and I'll put it in my man box. Just keeping a ton of random fasteners, tons of screws. Sometimes, you know, I don't go for the nails, but the screws and stuff like that are very important. Oh, 4-year-olds. I had to explain to her, don't pull the leaves off of the little plum tree we have here. This one right here. She says she's pulling the ones with bug bites on them, and I tried to explain to her, we don't do that. And being 4, drama queen, she started crying and ran off. So I'll have to go apologize to her. But anyway, fasteners, yeah, keep all that kind of stuff. You never know when you're going to need it. And whenever you need a screw or whatever you're building something, then grab that box and go through it. You'll probably be able to find a fastener that will work for you. So that's another good thing to keep in your preps. Here's another idea. If you are gardening and you know anything about the hugelkultur method of gardening, look it up. Hugel, H-U-G-E-L, hugelkultur, culture spelled like culture. Method of gardening. That raised bed right there is hugelkultur. What it is it's for a raised bed, you dig down like 2 or 3 feet, you fill it up with like logs, branches, all kinds of organic matter, compost, whatever you want to add in there. And then you add smaller and smaller and smaller stuff, and then you add maybe some dirt from the yard, and then you add some good topsoil, mushroom compost mix, whatever it may be. That's the way we do it. But all this yard waste, trees, branches in your yard, all the leaves you rake up, save them. All the pine needles, all the fir needles, all those kind of things, keep them, put them in your hugelkultur beds. If you choose to do them traditional method, which is mounding, it's actually it's a mound form of gardening that make them like 6-7 foot tall mounds. I chose to do it I don't want a 6-7 foot mound in my front yard, so I chose to do it in raised beds. But any kind of organic material, keep it and use it for that. Instead of paying to get rid of it, make a hugelkultur bed. Throw it in there. A lot of stuff will fit in there, and then you won't have to get rid of it, like I said. Here is another random item idea. These are barbed wire fence posts used in the garden. 4 posts. Same here. And then this piece here is one of those slats. See how it's thin? It's a thinner slat that goes in the middle of a chain link fence. This is an old post from an old, let me see right there. That's a post from an old tent. This is another one of those slats. This is a post from a chain link fence post that's mushroomed because I hammered it in. As well as, let me show you over here, same kind of deal. We got the chain link fence post hammered in, and they have one of these slats that went up to here. Wasn't tall enough, so I added another one to go all the way up to make the proper height for my 7 foot tall plus peas that we have since pulled out and planted new seeds down there. So we'll get them up growing again. So those are some other things you can think outside the box. Same as over here, those the barbed wire fence posts. Here's another example of upcycling. That used to be a trash can. As you can see by the broken handle, it had holes in it and stuff like that, so I cut it in half. So obviously that one does not have a bottom. This one has bottom with holes poked in it, and I turned them into planters. Because we need to make use of what we have. Grow in everything you possibly can. Why not use this stuff instead of having to pay to get rid of it? So now, your job is to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, comment below, and share all the videos. Please. There you go, ask nicely. Yeah, we just also went over 20,000 subscribers. I'm so happy. Reaching more people. I really hope I'm getting through to more people and helping to create more preppers and better prepared people. This is awesome, awesome journey. I hope you guys like the video. Some random ideas, try to think outside the box, multiple use items that you may not think of that might have really good uses in an SHTF type scenario. Just kind of brainstorm, do your own thinking. Think about what kind of items you might need around your area, around your apartment, your townhome, your suburban home, your rural homestead, whatever it is. Homesteaders pretty much know. I mean, they got to figure out, they got spare parts and stuff all over the place. And save stuff. Find ways to upcycle, to recycle things yourself, so you don't have to buy more stuff. You spend less money. You don't have to pay to get rid of the old stuff. So there you go. Make use of what you have the best you can. I hope you guys liked the video. Like I said, remember, prepping is living insurance. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and blessings to you and yours.